Okay, this is a video on the first four measures of the Bach Prelude. We worked it out on manuscript paper, the first part of this video, of this section, shall I say. Now we come to the keyboard portion. Now, that's the first note, the first chord. It's a triad. These two notes and these two notes are duplicates, so we can take this away. What are we left with? C major. That's rather obvious. Okay, that's okay. But let's work with the obvious a little bit here. That's the lowermost note, which is the root. That's the major third, and the major third defines this triad as a major triad. It's its characteristic interval. Not much has ever been emphasized in any theory manual or anywhere about characteristic intervals, yet they are important because that tells us nothing about its identity as a major triad. All right, that does. That is the characteristic interval for the minor triad. That E flat is important because it's the characteristic of the minor chord. Okay, in this we have E, which is the major third, and that major third is the uppermost note of this chord. Okay? Fine. We've analyzed it. But still, it's sort of we've done it because I guess we know it from the past, but we've memorized it from what we know. This is not good enough. What we need to do is start working with these four measures a little bit. And this is, let's say, the beginning of improvisation. Because improvisation is basically choices. When you understand a language, you begin to make choices as to the words you wish to say. Right now I'm totally improvising. I don't have a script in front of me. I have not prepared anything except basically what I want to cover. But choices. Okay, we don't have any choices if we're going to stick with these three basic notes of this Bach. So what we need to do is get away from the Bach for a little bit, and that's, of course, what improvisation is all about. Okay, now, as we mentioned in the written portion, this is a 1, 2, 5, 1 progression. Now, 1 is anywhere, you know. If C is the root, any C can be the root then. That's the root of C, that's the root of C, that's the root of C, and so on. The next is a D minor triad. Okay, that's the 2, so supertonic of the scale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 1, 2, or the supertonic. And 5 notes up is the dominant. Okay, fine. And the supertonic and the dominant. So we have 1, 2, 5, 1. Okay, we have some choices there. Well, how about 1, 2, 5, 1? How about 1, 2, 5, 1? How about 1, 2, 5, 1? You see, we can do anything there that we want to, which gets away from our basic arrangement of the notes of these three basic chords. All right? So, now you have three possibilities if you're going to work this as an improvisation. You have the choice of the root, the major third, or the fifth. Well, let's choose the third, the major third. Then let's go to the supertonic, to the dominant, to the tonic. Well, that's interesting. Listen to that. Make another choice. Now that choice between one octave and the other is so basic, but it's a choice. Alright, we got a fifth. Now that's the dominant, but if we choose it as the fifth of the tonic chord, then that's That's not the dominant, that's simply the fifth of the C major triad. So 5, 2 is D, but let's go down to the third of D. Then let's go back to the dominant, and then to the tonic. Well, that creates an entirely different progression, entirely different sound, even taking one note at a time. Okay? So, let's take the major third of the tonic, to the major third of the supertonic, to the dominant, and then to the tonic. Okay? Now, we've got choices there. We can, lots more choices, of course. We can do much, much more with that, what we will do at the very end of this video. But let's work with that a little bit. I've shown you the possibilities here. There are more possibilities. I'm not going to show you them all. Why don't you work it out? And if you want to do it in a different key, that would be incredible. Okay, let's try this now with the right hand. Well, there's your 1 chord. A 2 chord, well, isn't that interesting? D, F, and C. Now, it's not a it doesn't seem to be a quadrant, but it's not a triad. A triad is 3 notes, and when you say triad, quadrad, biad, by the way, biad is like this chord here, which is the ending of the C major Kleiner Preludium of Bach. He ends it this way. Well, that's a chord, but there's only 2 notes, a C and an E, that's it. So it's a biad, I'll call it. It's certainly not just an interval. Okay, and that is the 5th, which is not there. Is that a big deal? Not really, because the 3rd is the determining interval of the triad as a major triad. That's its characteristic. Okay, so, let's see. A 2 chord, if you want to keep the 7th on the bottom, but let's just do it as a basic chord here. Now, I kept the C on the bottom, wasn't that interesting, but I've got a D minor 7 chord here, which is the supertonic, and the 7th is on the bottom. And now, let's go to the dominant. Now, this is a dominant with the C on the bottom. Well, this is one of those situations in you know, the Baroque and most any time period, but this becomes what we call a pedal point. It's not part of the chord, but it's a pedal point. And then you come back to the triad. Okay, now 1, 2, 5, 1. Really uninteresting. 1. How about 1? 2, 5, 1. You see, I'm employing some options here, some choices here that makes it rather interesting. All right, let's do this. 1, 2. Isn't that an interesting sound? With the minor third as the lowermost note. And then the G chord will simply bring down the top 2 notes. That's your G, B, D, F, which is your dominant. And then let's go to the major third of the tonic chord as your 4th note. Interesting. But you've got so many choices here. It's fabulous. Okay, let's do something else here. What can we possibly do? All right, starting with, we'll put the C as the uppermost note, which is the root, C, E, and G. The 5th of the triad as the lowermost note. Now, let's go to D minor 7. Usually we don't duplicate the 3rd, but let's not worry about it. And let's go to a dominant. Now here's an interesting one. Look what we can do here. And that's a marvelous sound. What do we have here? I chose keep the supertonic notes here, and I had the minor third as the lowermost note, and the minor seventh is the uppermost note, which by the way forms a fifth, and then to the dominant. Now we have 1, we don't have a third, 5, 7, 9, 11. Whenever we have an 11, we don't generally use the third, because either we like that very much in going to the tonic, or we might want to what we call resolve it into a tonic. Work with it. That's about all I can say, is work with it, and work with various possibilities here, so you start working with your ability to employ choices in your practice. Whoa, let's go to the we did the supertonic, dominant, tonic. We've done the whole thing actually. 1, 1, 2, 5, 1, which is the basic, but it's uninteresting. And Bach chose something that was very interesting. Wonderful. That's about it. Carry on.